Hello, friends. This is Anthony from Force Ghost Conversations. Are you looking to get into the podcast game yourself? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, let me tell you, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has some tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Then, when hosting on Anchor, you can even distribute your podcast on listening platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more places. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And get this, everyone, best of all, Anchor is totally free. Just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Hello there! Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I'm going to list my dream panels for this upcoming Star Wars celebration in Anaheim. Before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok just by searching Force Ghost Conversations. And I look forward to connect with you on those platforms. And also, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice so we continue to keep growing as a podcast. And without further ado, it's time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Okay, friends, we are back. And as alluded in the preamble, this episode will be all about discussing some of those dream celebration panels that I'm hoping for, anticipating, expecting, taking a leap on for this upcoming celebration. It'll be taking place in Anaheim in the last week of May. So before we get into all that, though, we do have a lot of Star Wars news to run through this week. So let's just get into our appropriately dubbed segment, Cloud City Gossip, to run through all this great news that's taken place in the Star Wars galaxy over the last week. So first, the release of LEGO Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, is finally upon us, ladies and gentlemen. This new video game will be released on Tuesday, April 5th. So at the time of this release, it'll be next Tuesday. So be sure to pick up your copy or pre-order the game in advance. So spoiler alert, we will be covering the game on next week's episode. So you are forewarned. Go get the game, play it out, create an opinion, whatever you think about it. We'll be back next week to discuss it. So just giving you a heads up about that one way or another. Next, we also got an announcement this past week from Ewan McGregor himself, Obi-Wan Kenobi, that the premiere of the TV series Obi-Wan Kenobi will be moved to Friday, May 27th now instead of Wednesday, May 25th. However, we will get the first 2 episodes of the series on that date, so I would say that is a pretty fair trade-off. The new release date will coincide with the second day of Star Wars Celebration, so it will certainly be an exciting time for Star Wars fans, and my best to those podcasts that do instant reaction videos to everything and release episodes anytime something new comes out, because oh boy, that's going to be a busy time. I believe that's also the Star Wars night at Disneyland, so people are going to have a very busy day. Very busy day. And speaking of Star Wars Celebration, a few more guests were announced this week to be in attendance. So bear with me as I'm going to go through everybody so far that was announced this past week. So the expanded guest list now includes authors Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Older, Cavan Scott, and Charles Soule, who have been working on the High Republic series. And in addition, the following actors will be at the convention: Giancarlo Esposito, who played Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian; Carrie Jones, who played Chrysanthemum and The Book of Boba Fett; Daniel Logan, who portrayed young Boba Fett from Attack of the Clones and also voiced him in the Clone Wars animated series; Yona Swadamo, who plays Chewbacca, especially in the Disney films, so Force Awakens and beyond; Omid Abtahi, who plays Dr. Pershing in The Mandalorian; Margot Apostolos, who played the Ewok Takat; Jet Lucas, who played Zet Jukasa; Orly Shoshan, who played Shakti; Kevin Thompson, who played the Ewok Chubre; and Tim Rose, who was Admiral Akbar's puppeteer. They will all be in attendance as guests at Star Wars Celebration later in May. In addition, a new book excerpt for the upcoming book, Star Wars Brotherhood, was unveiled this past week. The book will hit stores this coming May, but you can get a little tease for what the story holds on StarWars.com right now. Star Wars Brotherhood is written by Mike Chen and will help to bridge Anakin and Obi-Wan's story between the end of Attack of the Clones to the start of the Clone Wars animated series. So be sure to check that out then. Next, a new cookbook was announced titled Star Wars The Padawan Cookbook. Written by Jen Fujikawa with Liz Lee Heinecke, the book will feature a new collection of fun Star Wars inspired recipes designed for parents and kids alike. Be sure to check out this new cookbook when it hits stores on August 16th. And finally, we wanted to congratulate actor Troy Kotsur on winning the award for Best Supporting Actor at this year's Academy Awards ceremony. Now, Kotsur won the award for his performance in the film Coda, and to my understanding, Coda has nothing to do with Star Wars. However, Kotsur is credited with inventing the sign language that is used by the Tusken Raiders in The Mandalorian, and he also portrayed one of the Tuskens as well. So that is a fantastic connection to the Star Wars galaxy. And with that, we congratulate Troy on this wonderful accomplishment. And with all of that, we have run through all the Star Wars news this week. Cloud City Gossip will come to an end for this episode. And on the other side of this break, we'll be back with our main topic for the day, kind of talking about some of those dream panel expectations for this year's Star Wars celebration. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. And as we've been hyping up this entire episode to this point, this is going to be just an episode, just kind of celebrating the foreground of celebration, right? We literally have nothing. We barely have a lot of, we don't really have a whole lot of information when it comes to the panels that'll be taking place at celebration. This is typically a time where we get some big reveals and announcements and things like that in terms of what's going on in the Star Wars galaxy. So if you look back at previous celebrations, there's usually panels on the major movies that are coming out, the video games, some of the initiatives that they're doing, whether it be animated series or live action television series. So this is really a great time before we get all that information announced to us later on to kind of speculate responsibly a little bit about what those panels could be, what they might discuss and talk about, of course. So I just wanted to really take some time to kind of like what I, as a fan, hope for going into this. And obviously, this can all change 100%. I just want to caveat that I know nothing about what is going on behind the scenes. I know nothing of what they're planning, just from knowing previous celebration experiences and panels that they put on together. That's kind of what I'm using to kind of get a sense of what is populated, what may be, pulled for a panel idea coming for the upcoming celebration. So I don't know about you, but I personally am super excited for celebration. It'll be my first celebration, so I'll be there with my wife over the course of that. That is all almost all 4 days. I mean, we're gonna be there primarily for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. At the convention, we're going to be at Disneyland 2 other days. So we'll be in the Anaheim area the entire week there. So we look to be active and engaged as much as we can when we're down there to interact with the fans as much as possible. That'd be really cool. But we're just excited to be down there. We got our tickets. We're all set to go. We got the hotel. We got the plane tickets. We've booked some of our reservations for Disneyland. We've got our Genie Plus. We're going to try and figure this all out because neither of us really know what we're doing when it comes to all that. And we're trying to plan it the best that we can. So we're going to take all suggestions that we can. But I'm really in a big celebration mood right now. I love rewatching past celebration panels, just kind of getting in that vibe of the excitement of everything that's going on, right? There's a big optimism that comes with Star Wars Celebration, right? It's looking to the future, it's celebrating the past, it's living in the present. It's a fun time where you're not bogged down by all of the negativity and the hate that can usually come with being associated with the Star Wars galaxy. Of course, the prequels get their love, the sequel trilogy gets its love. Everyone, of course, loves the original trilogy for the most part. Everything will get its little day in the sun, and I just wanted to just talk through some of the panels that I would expect to see at Celebration, some of the things that I'm hoping for that will come out here, and let's just dive into it here. So, obviously, I think first and foremost, especially with the news that came out this past week, I think it's pretty a safe bet that you'd imagine that on that Friday, there'd probably be some type of Obi-Wan Kenobi panel. I think that is probably a safe bet. It's literally the first two episodes are premiering that date on that Friday, May 27th. Or they could do it on the Saturday to give people a day to watch the first two episodes or something like that. I'd imagine I doubt it would be on that Thursday. I would have to say it's probably either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. That would make the absolute sense to me. And you would want it in probably that prime time slot so that people are most engaged and active on it, and build up the hype that is going to be for the rest of the season. That is Obi-Wan Kenobi. They keep saying limited series, but I also hear rumblings that, like Kathleen Kennedy, that they loved working together and they're exploring opportunities for maybe a season two and what that could entail. So maybe, who knows what's going to happen. But I think it's a pretty safe bet that there would be some type of Kenobi panel. And honestly, from I watch being at home, I've watched the Star Wars show at Star Wars Celebration religiously. Like it's just on, like all the interviews that they do throughout the convention, and live streaming all the panels. Of course, it's been that's really nice for just in terms of equity. Um, not yeah, yeah, just the equality of it all, I should say. Because, like, obviously, I couldn't afford to go, to Celebration, it just wasn't in my budget, and for people of similar financial situations that just can't travel once a year or whatever to the destination site of choice and pay all the tickets and for all that, it just wasn't in the cards for me at that any point up to this point in time, and it just helps to be a part of it all. You don't feel like you're missing out too much. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of FOMO from not being in the convention as it's taking place and being a part of it and, like, in the room when it happens, if you wanna quote Hamilton. But typically, when all these celebration panels happen, the actors and the creatives that they bring out on stage to discuss the type of works that are the projects that they're working on, it's usually months in advance or pretty soon to when it's coming out that they really can't show too much. Like, they can't speak it too much about the series. They have their typical or movie, whatever. They have their typical like talking points. They are giving a prescribed dialogue of what to say. They're trained actors and professionals in this industry. They know what they know the drill at this point. But the fact that the first two episodes of Kenobi could potentially be out by the time that this panel would take place, that's very exciting as a fan. I hope I can get into this panel if it just aligns up right with my schedule. And hopefully they do that same thing that they did in Chicago, where it's just kind of like a lottery system where you put yourself in, and then if you get in, you get in, right? That instead of having people camp out the night before or whatever, right? I just didn't think that's just not a safe way to do it. um But the fact that they could have 2 episodes out by the time that the panel is great is, you know, I think that they could really have a free reign to talk about the episodes. They might show the first episode or 2, and then if another they might show the next episode at that point. I think that'd be very fascinating. They'd be able to just be so much freer in that conversation than what any other panel to this point has done, aside from stuff that the series has concluded, right? And they did like a Rebels Remembered uh, panel back in Celebration 2019 in Chicago, which was great because they were able to just like reminisce and reflect on the things that have happened already. And it's not like they were like worried about spilling the beans on some new reveal that was going to take place in the next the next season. That's always something that's kind of, they have NDAs. The actors have NDAs that they don't want to break. That just makes total sense. And now, especially for some of this big IP character like Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's really cool. Really cool. I would hope that they bring out all the cast and crew: Deborah Chow, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, um, Joel Edgerton. Just bring them all out, have a great time. Let's rock and roll with all this. That would be really cool. So that's kind of like the big one. But I would say that's kind of I would hope, that if I was gambling on any of this stuff, I would say that's probably like the 100% gonna happen at some point over the course of the week, the weekend, whatever. So another panel that I'm hoping takes place in the course of the celebration 4 days of the 4 days of the convention. We'll just call it that. Is a Bad Batch season 2 panel. Now, if you were at home and you were fooled on April Fools like I was, there was a tweet circulating around that was saying that the Bad Batch was going to premiere date on some date in July, and I fell full hard for it. I apologize to everyone that might have also fallen for it too, because I'm so excited for this series. I really love that first season, the characters, the connections that they have with each other. Dee Bradley Baker, who's the voice actor for all those clones, really gave them a sense of belonging and character, and made them feel unique to each other. Gave them personality. I mean, I could talk to all this episode about how awesome Bad Batch season 1 is and the characters, but honestly, I would love to see this series get its due a bit more. We've honestly not heard too much, frankly, about it since the season ended last. My gosh, what was that last? August, I want to say. It's almost been a while there, and they're working on season 2. We know it's announced, it's coming, and I would imagine it's sometime this year. And I don't know when it's going to line up with the Disney Plus release schedule. Which I think we could talk about that separately too. I know they like to do one big thing a week, where they don't like to overlap things. Um, I mean, that's a smart strategy overall, but I don't think with all the IP content that they've got coming out that's going to be feasible too much longer. We're already seeing it run into that, right? Where like certain things like Hawkeye has to premiere 2 episodes before Boba Fett, or 2 episodes of Kenobi potentially to not coincide with Ms. Marvel coming out later on. Like it's just going to eventually, they're just going to have to accept it or release different dates or something like that. They're just going to have to eventually get to that point. But I would love for that to come out, or for this panel to happen. I want Filoni and then Jen Corbett, I believe, and D. Bradley Baker. I apologize that I don't know off the top of my head who voices Omega, but I would love for all those people to be out on that stage, give a tease for what's coming next, maybe show the first episode or two. I know that's been a traditional hallmark for the upcoming animated series, whether it be Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels. I think Resistance 2 even did a similar thing when that was when I was running, where they would show like maybe the first episode or two of the upcoming season, get people super hyped about it. I would love for that to happen. And I would say, if I'm gambling, I would say this is probably a fair bet too. So I hope that that's in the cards. Another panel that this might be more of a stretch now. We're getting into a little bit of the stretch series here, where it's not a full on guarantee here until the last one. I'm pretty sure the last one's 100% based on how they've advertised the stuff. But the next one that I hope has some presence at Celebration in one way, shape, or form is, and they could obviously do this in a different format than what I'm expecting it to be. Um, I would say that they could do. I would love to see an Ahsoka panel for the upcoming Ahsoka series. I would love to see Rosario Dawson out there, maybe unveil some of the cast or confirm some of the casting rumors that have gone out and about. Talk about who is it. I mean, I assume Filoni is the showrunner based off of what his involvement. I would presume. I would love to see that in the course of this series. I would love to just have them come out on stage, maybe if not even just for like a quick 15-minute rundown, because I know from what I understand, they're supposed to be filming in April. That's right. So we're now in April. I'm pretty sure that they're going into the volume now to start filming this stuff. And maybe they have like a little teaser they could pop on, some concept art. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. I think that it's definitely in the realm of possibility. I hope that at least these people have some I mean, obviously, I think Filoni's going to have a presence at Celebration, but I hope Rosario Dawson is out there and out and about, and at least in terms of just being a guest for the convention. But I think that there's something that could be there to explore. They've obviously done panels ahead of time with less information than already, so you never know, frankly. And honestly, I think if they film at the volume that's in Los Angeles, then they're not too far away. So I think that would be very logistically possible overall. It's not like they gotta fly people in from London to make this happen. So hopefully that is a panel that could take place here. Now, obviously, I think there's a show coming out this fall, or at least presumed to come out this fall, which is the Cassian Andor series, just dubbed Andor, following the great kind of scoundrel, roguish spy from Rogue One, a Star Wars story, played by the great Diego Luna. And we know that that series is coming out in the fall, and we almost have gotten nothing on that too at this point. So I would probably expect that they would do a little bit of hyping up for that show in the course of um, the 4 days of the convention. I gotta get that down better. I would say that probably a good bet that I would assume that Diego will be there in some way, shape, or form. They will make that happen, I would imagine. But I think that the show would benefit from having a more larger presence, right? Aside from the Disney Plus Day little, in 2020, but they showed some concept art and showed that they were filming and that they're moving forward this project. I would be very surprised if there was nothing. So I would hoping that someday, one of the course of the days of the panel of of the convention. Gosh, tongue's getting tied today with all the convention celebration. All these words that are similar. It's. I hope that it comes to pass that Cassian gets his day in the sun as well. Kind of following this live action TV hoping wish list that I've got here is I would hope for a Mandalorian season 3 panel. I mean, we didn't get, unfortunately because of COVID, we did not get Celebration in 2020 or even last year. Um, so we haven't had a proper Mandalorian panel since 2019, when the series was just coming out, when in Chicago, when they unveiled some brief footage and talked about like the Mandalorian and the process for filming it and all that stuff, which was a great panel. I really liked that one back in the day. I think we should maybe do a couple of Force Ghost Conversations episodes looking at past Celebration panels and just kind of examining like what we learned about the show. Looking at I think that's a good idea. I think we'll probably do that. I should make a note of that right over here. I would love to see a Mandalorian season 3 panel at Celebration. I know they just wrapped filming, um, uh, so that they could potentially show a little tease about what's coming up for that show. Maybe give a little state of the galaxy at that point for coming out of the Book of Boba Fett. Obviously, the Mandalorian was a big character in that. We know that he and Grogu are back together, and the sky's the limit on where they could possibly go with that series at this point. I would be very intrigued to see or to hear from the creators what they thought of the Book of Boba Fett a bit more. They could be a bit more candid about that, um, and talk about the creative process behind it all, and connecting this overall shared universe in a bit more cohesive manner. So I think, and obviously, I want Pedro Pascal um, and the whole cast to get there. Another kind of like do their I just love when these actors that put their heart and soul into these characters and creating them and kind of embodying them in a daily light is when they get that notoriety and recognition on the grand stage about how awesome that their characters are and that we as fans appreciate them for what they're doing. I think that would be really, really cool. I always get, emotional and passionate about stuff like that when it comes to pass. So I would hope that something like that is in the cards for the Mandalorian. Now that I am looking at my list overall, actually it would make sense if they don't want to do a separate one for each of them. Maybe, there's a potential that you could just like log them all together in the course of like a one big like upcoming TV panel. That's definitely, I would say, feasible. If you look at some similar models like a San Diego Comic Con, etc., like when Marvel does their announcements for upcoming movies, oftentimes they won't do like one panel per movie. They will just do like a presentation, right? Where they bring out like the actors and kind of like tease something with the creators, maybe 5 to 10 minutes per movie or show. And that could be a similar model that they follow here. It keeps them within like an hour, hour 15 or so, and then each show would get like 20 minutes or so to get their just due. I mean, it'd be very similar to what they did in 2017 with the George Lucas 40th anniversary panel, where they brought out characters like Dave. They brought Dave Filoni, and then they brought out the prequel characters and the original trilogy characters, and then John Williams. Like they did the whole shebang to get the convention kicked off. And that would be really neat. That would be really neat if they did something like that. But similarly, I think if they're going to do any type of upcoming movie panel, I would think that that's the formula that they're going to follow. Because we've heard literally nothing about Rogue Squadron since it's come out. I understand that there may be production issues or something like that behind the scenes. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on any of that. I have no information whatsoever when it comes to that. Haven't heard a single thing about the Taika Waititi movie that's supposed to be coming out since the 2020 Disney Plus Day, um, Investors Day thing that they did. There's a Kevin Feige movie. Like, there's a lot of, and you hear all these rumors about people getting movies. I heard Damon Lindelof a few weeks ago. Every now and then you hear someone's like a Star Wars project or movie in development, right? And I think this could be there could be a panel here where they set it up as like a like here's our upcoming film slate. Here are the films, here are the release dates, here's what you can expect. Here are the creators, like the directors or some of the cast connected to come out and talk about what this year the movie will entail. If they're going to do anything like that, obviously I don't think that they're going to split it up separately, even though it might be better for the convention overall to have like specific panels for all this stuff. I think if they're going to do anything to this regard, they're just going to pack it all into one big super sandwich and just let it ride. So if that happens, that would be really cool. I would personally, I'm not expecting anything like that at all. They may just focus on the television and animated side of things and the other cool aspects of the Star Wars galaxy, and not focus too much on the movies. But that's entirely up to Lucasfilm and the team putting on this convention together, which is way above my pay grade to even be possible. So something that I'm really hoping for in terms of a panel is a a panel for the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, which is the great video game that came out in 2019, just before The Rise of Skywalker. At the same time, The Mandalorian season 1 was first debuting on Disney Plus. So that was a really big, busy time for the Star Wars fandom overall, getting really hyped up for that awesome Episode 9. And I it's we I think we got confirmation a couple weeks ago that there might be a sequel to Fallen Order coming out. I would love to like get the next um get confirmation on that. I would love to get some like more gaming information, but of course I really want this Fallen Order sequel. I want the story continued. I would love to see that happen. The game is great. I love the story of it all. Cal Kestis is a wonderful character, wonderful Jedi. Cameron Monaghan really does a great job portraying him. And kudos to the entire team in creating that world and that post 66, like a year, 1 year, two, um, time of the Empire, what that's like. That'd be really cool to see how that story continues. And they did a panel in Chicago when the series was first coming out, or the video game was first coming out, and they did the whole trailer tease and all that, and talked about all the work that went into it. I think that would be fantastic. Let's make that happen. Let's make the Jedi Fallen Order sequel. Um, I hope they get a panel. I hope they get a panel. It would make entire sense for me to do that. They could just call it Untitled Game Panel and then do all the reveals there. That'd be really neat. So, in light of this week's past news, there is we know that the entire like main author, like for phase one, the main authors of the High Republic saga are going to be at Celebration in their capacity, right? They're going to be there. Obviously, they're going to be selling books. They're going to be signing books, doing autographs, doing all the cool stuff that they do there. Probably some storytelling panels, some writing panels, what have you. But I would love for phase two of the High Republic to get its day in the sun, its moment in time. I Phase two is coming out in October. This May is a great time for maybe some story teases. There's just enough time for people to have read all of the High Republic content up to that point and get all caught up. It just makes sense to me. I would love for them to have this huge room. I don't know how big the convention space is in Anaheim, so I'm hoping that like the stage is really set for them to just like have this big full room just of people ready to geek out about how awesome phase one was and look forward to phase two. Get them all out there on stage. Give us some teases about the upcoming books. Give us the title, give like full cover art and all that stuff. Like get some more teases for upcoming stories. And they did a basic slate for what's coming up, but give us some more confirmation. Bring out the other authors on stage. Let's just have a big party celebrating Star Wars: The High Republic and looking forward to phase two. That would be great. When I'm there and I'm hoping that when you hear these things or exist, that would be like on my bingo card of like I'm hoping to scratch that one off. And if I'm there, I hope to be able to attend that one. I would really love to be a part of that room and in there when these announcements are being made, because I personally have been a big fan of the High Republic series and what they've done over there overall. So then finally, the last panel that I would 100% expect this to happen almost as much as Kenobi. This is probably just slightly under that, but honestly, they're both at 100% for me right now. Is an Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary panel. I mean, come on now. They've already it's on the merchandise. If you're already have tickets, you can purchase, like you can pre-order some merch about the 20th anniversary for Attack of the Clones. They did a similar thing for the 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. It just makes absolute sense that they would do something like that. I would imagine that Hayden will be there. Ewan will already be there if they're doing a Kenobi panel. These guys are already there. Bring out George, right? Bring out some of the other actors. Um, maybe you can get Natalie Portman to come back and talk about, Sam Jackson could be there. It's sky's the limit, frankly, on who on you could get these actors. I mean, you're in Anaheim. If they live in LA and they're LA based, it's not too far of a drive for them to get there and make the logistics of it all work out. So, there's a good chance that we could get a very cool Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary panel. This movie is fantastic. I love it so much. I've seen it the most of any Star Wars movie, to be honest. I watched it, and I'm not exaggerating, 300 times during the summer of 2003. So this movie, it's been much maligned across the board by critics and fans. I would say wrongly so. And I think it's time for this movie to get the relevance and the praise that it actually absolutely deserves for what it did for the Star Wars galaxy and for cinema, and for getting a lot of people into the Star Wars, and for carrying the flag of the story, and for really being that central piece of the prequel trilogy that is like the middle chapter of the prequel trilogy, and really set up the Clone Wars animated series, and really set up the Revenge of the Sith. There's just a lot there, and obviously we're going to talk about Attack of the Clones as we get closer to this 20th anniversary coming up. But that is it. Those are kind of like the 9 hopeful panels that I have for the upcoming Star Wars celebration in Anaheim. Are you going to be there in Anaheim? That'd be super cool to hear who's all going to be there. What panels are you hoping for? What are you expecting? We'll obviously be reporting it here on Forest Ghost Conversations as we get closer to celebration and as more information is released. But this is kind of just a dream wish list, a hopeful list. It means absolutely nothing. It's just some fun speculation amongst friends here about potentials, possibilities, just thinking through a critical sense, and just hopefully you just enjoyed this conversation. You sat down with a cozy in your cozy chair. You're somewhere comfy, and you're just having a good time chatting Star Wars with your old bud Anthony. So, with that, everybody, we are out for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. Follow us on all the social media platforms that we're available on: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And we'll be back next week talking about Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. So get excited for that, and we'll be right back next week with a brand new episode then. So until then, may the Force be with you, and take care.